The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
First of all,
this is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
It might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't care.
The BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the sports guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report, a slightly chilly Monday here in Southern California. On the line, as always, the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Cousin Sal, how are you?
Yeah, Bill, what's happening, man?
It was a great weekend for you because the Cowboys didn't play. So you got a little respite from that. That must have felt good, right?
It's really terrific just to sit back and, 2-2. I don't know how we could petition the league for 14 byes, but I really much rather watch the rest of the NFC East collapse around us.
All right, let's talk about the Eagles quickly. Do they stink or are they throwing games? Because it's one or the other, and I'm actually leaning toward the throwing games because the way they're losing is very fishy, and I think people need to start really investigating what's going on here. What do you think?
I don't know what's going on because it'd be nice to be able to point to one thing. We used to be able to point to Andy Reid, like, oh, he's blowing these games, doesn't know how to call anything down the stretch. But their defense stinks. I mean, you can run up and down the field against them, for sure.
Yeah.
You can throw against them. Michael Vick looks spectacular at times, and then he'll end up with like 2, 3, 4 interceptions. It's like, oh yeah, well that blew it too. And then there's then there is the Andy Reid, whatever. Then there's the jumping off sides with no time left and just stupid turnovers. So maybe they are throwing the game because it is a collaborative effort.
The play at the end of the first half when they had 8 seconds left and they decide to run another play, Andy has just reached a point where you just know it's going to go badly. And they were running that play. I was watching with some Grantland friends, and just knew something bad was going to happen. We thought Vic was going to take a sack, but instead he triple clutched it and then threw it out of bounds, and the clock ran off. But
just real quick with that, the clock kind of did run off. They should have had a second left, I thought. And that's where Andy Reid needs to go crazy. I don't know if it makes a difference, but he half-heartedly raises his gigantic arm in the air and with a 1, holding up a 1 like there should be 1 second. And, all right, no one's looking at me. I'll walk off the field. That's it. But
it's one of those teams that when it's like 1st and goal from the 6, you just feel like they're going to go backwards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is, and I wonder if like the players feel that way too. But at 1-4. 9-7 might get a wild card in the NFC this year.
Well,
it's
I was
possible.
just looking at it. It's not a foregone conclusion, as we may have thought, that the NFC South would get a wild card. So that opens things up a little. I mean, after watching Atlanta play, I know they're playing Green Bay, and unfortunately, you're Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know if a wild card comes out of that division.
Well, it does if it's a 9-7 wild card. But the question is, could Atlanta or Tampa even go 9-7?
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the NFC East, like the Giants losing that game to Seattle. Now, I don't know what to make of that team now. Washington, I can't imagine Washington getting to 10-6. Maybe they will. Maybe their schedule will get easier the second half. But 9-7 just seems like the right number for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then your team, who the hell knows? One of these teams is going to peak second half of the year.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. These are the sneaky teams that everyone wants to root for and everyone thinks that they're coming on. But realistically, Raiders, Bills, Lions, Skins, I'm including the AFC here. Raiders, Bills, Lions, Skins. How many of those 4 make the playoffs? 1, 2, or more?
Well, I think the Bills get the spot or possibly get the spot that we had reserved for the Jets.
But it's either Bills or Raiders, right? It can't really be both. Because unless you think like Pittsburgh, unless you think the North doesn't have a wild card.
I don't think the Raiders can get to 10 wins. My question with them, could they potentially beat the Chargers for that division? Because the Chargers are a very, very unimpressive 4-1.
4-1, yeah.
Really, like they have not played a good game yet, and Rivers is just stunk this year.
But this is what we've seen them play exactly the way they played in September and early October, and they'll be 1-4. It's sort of scary that they're 4-1 now.
It is a little scary, and they do have a pretty easy schedule. Although, the Chiefs have played pretty well now for 3 weeks in a row, so that's not a rollover team. And then Denver with this Tebow thing, which just defies all logic. Maybe that's like a tough team to play now. I don't know what to make of anything this year other than it might, Philly might be a cross-off. I hate to cross somebody off after 5 weeks, but man, they just look like something's like really seriously, deeply wrong. And they can't defend, they can't protect the lead, they make dumb mistakes over and over again. I don't see how that gets fixed. The chemistry thing. Maybe you can't speak enough about it because they brought in all these free agents, and we spoke about the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator who was offensive line coach. It was too much. It was too much to change too quick. I also think Atlanta's a write-off. I mean, they might get to 9-7, but man, you got to respond better than you did last night. You have a big lead at home on a Sunday night, and then the last 45 minutes of that game, Green Bay just annihilated them.
Yeah, they should be able to run the ball and hold the lead. It's disgusting.
It was 15-14 at the end of 3 quarters, and I was like, "There's no way Atlanta's." I'm watching it going, "There's no way Atlanta's going to win this game. 0% chance."
Right.
And then Tampa, who I think I really thought was going to sneak in as that last wild card. They just got up. I don't know how you come back from that. 48-3.
That was disgusting, and I hate to give anyone the NFC West credit, but the Niners are good. They're good. They have a solid front seven. They have gigantic receivers who, ball hawking receivers. They get open, and when Gore is on, they're tough to beat.
Great coach. And we talked about them last week, and we were saying, they might be good, but, that line stayed at 3 all week against Tampa, and I was just like, man, this is the week where, they kick everybody in the teeth who thinks they're good, and instead it went the other way. And now
you know what's funny with us? I think the last few years, we've been, around this time, week 5 or 6, we'd be like, we have to pencil it down. Whoever wins the NFC West, that's an automatic loss in the first round, Saturday game of the wild card. And I'm not saying that at all this year. The Niners, home against maybe the 9-7 Falcons, they could win that game. Maybe another one after that.
And the only reason I didn't take them last week against Tampa was just because it's so hard to gauge whether the NFC West, when they play these other divisions that are better divisions, you always talk yourself, the Rams are playing the Eagles week. The Rams will, and then the other division kills them. And the fact that they handled their business against what I thought was a pretty good NFC team tells me that they're not a typical NFC West team.
Yeah, well, that's not the only reason you didn't take the Niners over the Buccaneers.
What do you mean?
Your boyfriend Josh Freeman, you got notwithstanding, and then that must have been awful for you too. And then you leave me a voice message. Should I play it? I don't like playing these normally.
I guess.
Let me play it real quick.
Fine.
Hold on.
Cousin Sal, finally got a chance to drunk dial you. My boyfriend Joshy Boy, Tootsie Wootsy, Pudding Pop, Twinkle Toes, Jolly Rancher, Bit of Honey, Hubba Bubba, Pudding Pop. Did I say Pudding Pop already? Freeman had a rough go of it today. He's off in the bathroom all upset, lost 48-3, threw 2 interceptions. I guess they count as interceptions, but they weren't his fault. 2 chowderheads named Chris Culliver, Carlos Rogers walked in front of Joshy Boy's perfect passes. Culliver, Rogers, you guys are public enemy 1 and 2, like Spencer Pratt, Yosemite Sam, and the Cavity Creeps all put together. I don't know why they had to get involved. Just stay back and watch Josh. Instead, they have to make the interception ruin a great evening I had planned. Josh and I were going to watch Louis C.K., eat some Subway chicken bacon ranch melt, and listen to acoustic Pearl Jam bootleg concert from Leavenworth State Prison. Now the evening's ruined. Poor Joshy Boy, Tootsie Wootsy, Pudding Pop, Twinkle Toes, Jolly Rancher, Bit of Honey, Hubba Bubba's in the bathroom, pissing waterfalls from his beautiful eyes. I know what I'll do. When he comes out, I'll sing him our favorite song, the theme from Joni Loves Chachi. That'll cheer him up. Oh, look at that. Here he comes now. Hey, Joshy Boy, I got something to say to you. Here it comes. Something magic in the way you hold me in your eyes.
Yeah.
No one ever warned me love just takes me by surprise.
Can't hit those notes.
I don't know what's come over me. You got me hypnotized. What? Joshy! He just shot himself repeatedly in the spleen with a machine gun. Must have been my singing. He's day-to-day. Gotta make a tourniquet. Sports guy over and out.
Wow, you're taking it to another level with these sound effects.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What happens? He's day-to-day?
Well, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at his schedule right now, and this might be it for Josh.
Yeah?
Well, they are 3-2.
Right.
But they're at Green Bay, at New Orleans, at Tennessee, at Carolina, at Atlanta. They have home games against Dallas, Carolina, Houston. These next 2 weeks, they're home for New Orleans and Chicago. I guess they could get to 9 wins, right?
Well, they're good. They're fine, but there's no easy win. I mean,
they're definitely not good.
Struggled against the Colts last week.
They're definitely not good.
Well,
you can't give them
they're
good.
9-7, fine. I think. I don't think they get to 10-6, but there is no easy game on their schedule. That's the point with them this year, I think.
Atlanta's 2-3, and then they have Carolina at home, which is a game you would normally just chalk up. I don't think you can do that anymore.
No.
Then they're at Detroit, which I'm penciling in as a loss. They lucked out. They have at Indy November 6th.
Right.
New Orleans, Tennessee, Minnesota at home. At Houston, at Carolina, home for Jacksonville, at New Orleans, home for Tampa. I mean, they could get to 9-7. I don't think they get to 10-6. But I think this was a good week for your Cowboys. You didn't play, and it became established that 9-7 is probably going to get the 6th wild card, and it's going to come down to like the 18th tiebreaker.
I never rooted harder for your Patriots than I did this week, and just the infinitesimal chance we have of beating you next week, it would have been gone if you had lost to the Jets. So.
Classic Patriots move there with up 6, driving. Basically, it's 2nd and 2. They're like inside the 12, so there was a chance for like the break through the line touchdown. But if they get the first down, the game's over. They kneel. They win by 6, but they don't cover. And
right.
They got stuffed, and then the field goal to make it a 9-point win. Pretty interesting.
It's always a weird thing because they weren't rubbing. I think by kicking a field goal, they get a pass from not rubbing it in. Except they rubbed it into all the Jets' bettors by going up 9. So they're getting the first down at the 15. They would have taken a knee, maybe. I guess.
Then you had San Diego was up 2, and it seemed like they were just going to run out the clock. And then somehow they got to like the 20 because North Turner was throwing it with 3 minutes left of the lead for no reason.
I bet a lot of gamble. I mean, so that meant all 3 late afternoon games the favorites covered. So the Eagles bettors and Giants bettors made their money back. Whoever had big favorites.
The only other thing before we get to the Week 6 lines, so in Week 4, in Week 5, the home teams were 4-7-1. In Week 4, they were 7-9, and in Week 3, they were 7-9. So we've seen 3 straight weeks with the away teams have been well over 50%.
This is straight up or against the spread?
Against the spread.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So 14-16, and then last week 18. So home teams are 18-23-1 the last 3 weeks.
They can't cover at home. Wow. All right. Well, then this first game this leads into that nicely. By the way, this is Week 6. You're up 3 weeks to 2. We pick the lines. Whoever's closer wins the week. Philly at Washington.
Well, now it's like I just feel like the Redskins have to be favored. I can't imagine why the Eagles would be favored. I have Redskins by 2.5.
All right, you get this. We differed wildly here. I said Philly by 3, and it's a pick'em, so you get it. I was way off. So what? Wait, hold on though. Philly was favored by 3 over Buffalo. It has a better home field than Washington, and it's probably a better team. And it came down to the last possession. Why did the spread go away?
Because going into that Buffalo game, people were like, the Eagles are 1-3, but look at their stats. There's no way they won't win in Buffalo. They're all the first downs, the yardage, all that stuff. That's what my thinking was. But, man, it just seems like they're not that good.
I don't know who takes Washington here to pick them.
I'll tell you who. Bill Simmons, that's it.
Yeah?
I'm taking him.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I'm taking him.
It's something, I don't want to give you a little bit of an edge here, but Vegas might be favoring these teams who have had buys in terms of the spread, but it's a little bit of a We'll see how that shakes out.
Does Andy Reid get fired if the Eagles go 1-5?
I mean, he's got that's. It depends on how much they lend to this preseason stuff. Like, it's not his fault he couldn't get it together. He only had 4 weeks, and these players they're all great, but they're from all over the place.
Is that then? How do you explain Jim Harbaugh?
Yeah, it's true.
Jim Harbaugh took over an entire team of people he didn't know. Andy Reid got to coach like 10 people he didn't know. I do think, though, the one thing yesterday that was a real factor was, and I was in the back of my head, and I took the Eagles anyway, but Trent Cole not being there had a huge impact, I thought. He was the best guy in that defense other than Asamoah, and they just had no push at all.
And don't forget, like, when labeling yourself a dream team, everyone is going to gun for you. And it does seem like everyone is playing at a different level against the Eagles.
Yeah. So. All right, let's keep
going.
Game
2, San Fran at Detroit. Good game. There's a line on this.
Yeah. There's a line on this, even though we're taping this on Monday. Lions are playing tonight, and I have Lions by 5.5.
Okay, I said 5, and it's 4.5.
All right.
So I get it for now. That's a good one.
We think the Lions win pretty handily tonight, right?
No. I think
you don't?
The Bears
you like
cover.
the Bears?
Yeah.
Really?
I think they figure out a way. I don't even like them. I don't know how they do it, but I think they figure out a way to cover. That's just how the Lions play. All games are close. Carolina at Atlanta.
This Panthers team has been a covering. They're just fantastic. Every week they've been able to work with whatever points they've been given. I can't imagine Vegas is going to keep giving them that extra 3 points. I think this is the week it comes down. I don't like the Falcons that much. I'm going to say Falcons by 4.5.
All right, I said 5.5, and it's 5, so we split that one. So it's 2-2.
I like the Panthers. Like the Panthers.
I do too. Oh God, every time they have the ball, it's great.
You know what? I was going to write this week, but I'm going to say it now too, and I'll double dip. The Patriots made a huge mistake not trading for Steve Smith at any point over these last 3 years. Because it's clear that this guy is a monster, and we all thought he was, I was like, Steve Smith's not good anymore. And meanwhile, he'd been carrying Jake Delhomme for like 5 years. Mm-hmm. And then all the crappy guys they had last year, and the Patriots could have stolen him, and they had all these extra picks. Really? The Panthers wouldn't have traded Steve Smith for like the 28th pick in the first round? They would have done that in a millisecond.
Point. For all the guys who seem like they're lazy and want to take plays off and whatever, he is still solid. He's still got his legs.
He would have been a fantastic Patriot. Yeah. And if you'd put him and Welker, I think Steve Smith's, you could argue he's been the best player this season.
Really?
Just in terms of the plays that he makes.
Away. Who did they lose to? That they fumbled?
I forgot.
They're 1-4 still.
Good point. Well, just like the plays that he makes and how hard he's playing, and there's certainly him and Calvin Johnson, I would say, have been the two best receivers.
It's got to be Calvin Johnson. Yeah.
Welker's been up there, but I don't know. Steve Smith changes games. It seems like.
He seems like he has a lot of field to run. And you know what? Let me just say this. What do you think of this? But it seems like every play is getting reviewed now at the goal line, and I guess it is. Every touchdown has to get reviewed. That's close.
Anything close, yeah.
In particular, and I'm going back to Cam Newton goes to Brandon LaFell. He throws it. Anyone who's diving for the pylon, and it's out of bounds at the inch line or in the end zone.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that reviewed if it's for a first down. If I'm like. I don't want to wait 7 minutes to see them run a quarterback sneak from the inch-yard line. They should, whatever the ref calls on a pylon play, that's it. Let's just move on.
I agree with you.
Right?
Steve Smith is second in receiving yards, 609 already. Welker's at 740, which is insane.
Well, hold on. Roy Williams hasn't played yet tonight, so that's not fair.
The other one is this Mike Wallace, who's third in receiving yards, 536. Yeah. They've thrown him 38 times. He's caught 31. That's ridiculous. Anyway.
Yeah. And they throw long to him, too. So
it's like all deep passes, and he's somehow batting 70%.
Yep. All right, Jacksonville at Pittsburgh.
Steelers. They wrote me in. I thought it would take another week till they put it together, and they just killed Tennessee. the Jaguars aren't good, so I have this in double digits, and I'm going to say 12.5 Steelers.
All right, you get it. I said 11. I thought that would be high enough. It's 13. And, yeah, I'm the same way. I want to write them off. It's like, everyone's hurt. You got Roethlisberger's in a boot. He loses an offensive lineman every 6 minutes. They put an anvil in his shoulder pads. What else do they need? And not only do it's not like they eke these games out, then they kill teams. And like, what is going on? I don't know what to make of them.
Well, the one thing with them is they can throw the ball about as well as anybody when they have it going. I didn't think they'd be able to block Tennessee, and they blocked them pretty easily. Yeah.
It's something, the way they step up. St. Louis at Green Bay.
I have this as the highest line of the year.
All right.
Packers by 15.5.
That's exactly what I had. It's weird, and it's 14.5.
Oh.
So we both get it.
Well, I think that goes to 17 on game day.
Well, it was going to be 11, and then they saw that Steve Spagnuolo had 2 weeks to prepare for Green Bay, so they moved it up.
2 weeks to prepare to get annihilated by Green Bay.
That's fun. Yeah.
They're a machine, man. It's really Rodgers can just he's got 3 guys open every play.
Yeah, they don't screw around. All right, Buffalo at the Giants.
Ooh. I thought this was the toughest game to pick. It's definitely in the Vegas zone. And I have Giants by 5.5. Don't ask me why.
All right. I'm going to ask you why, because I had 3, and it's 3 exactly.
Wow.
You saw them play yesterday, right?
I did. I just thought, I just thought they would jack it high for the Giants fans and for people who don't believe in the Bills yet. It should be 3. It's a fair line. They're even.
I like the Giants here. I don't want to bet them. They killed me, and I'm sure everyone else out there. I had 3 suicide pools. Had the Giants. We had a money line parlay, which started with the Yankees in Game 4. We were trying to buy a loss or buy a win. And A.J. Burnett somehow won, which kept our parlay alive till Sunday with the Patriots in one and then the Giants. And I think Tom Coughlin deserves some heat there. Did you see, they're at the 3-yard line, right? It's 1:20. The clock's running. They're down 4 or 5, whatever. So they're in control. You could let that clock go down to 35 seconds. And Eli Manning is hurrying up. He's running up and down the line of scrimmage.
Team screwed up constantly.
Shotgun. Yeah. And then there's a false start. It's all right, well, now you got to run 3 times. You got to pass 3 times. And then he had to force an interception.
These teams always screw that up when it's under 2 minutes and they're down and they act like, there's this gun to their heads. And meanwhile, the clock's your friend at that point.
Yeah, you have 3 plays. What do you need, 90 seconds?
In my column, I came very close to taking the Seahawks and all those points just because I think their defense is a little better than maybe people think. And the Giants had that bad secondary. And then I just Tavares in Giant Stadium, I just couldn't do it.
But what if you had heard it was Charlie Whitehurst for the second half?
Well, there you go. Charlie comes in, he starts throwing BBs.
Yeah.
And they were playing well even before Charlie came in. But you watch both of those QBs, and it just seems like Charlie's better. At least he throws accurate passes to receivers.
He might. But for someone who didn't practice with the first team this week, he was pretty good on the road.
My big fear with that game last week was it just seems like anytime the Giants are big favorites at home, and maybe statistically this isn't backed up, but just Eli for some reason in those games just can be he goes south.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like this is a better situation for him to be a 3-point favorite against this hot Bills team. I feel like he'll play better in this situation than when they're favored by 10.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know what happened with that team anyway, but they should be able to run the ball against Seattle. They can't even get out of the end zone. They're stuffed up for safety. And
they were terrible.
Where's this pass rush that held the Eagles on the goal line, 4 plays? They didn't get in at all on Whitehurst or Tavares.
When it was 14-14, they had that safety.
Right.
On this run play that took 5 seconds to develop. It wasn't even Eli got sacked. It was this delayed halfback. By the time the guy got the ball, 3 guys were in the end zone.
And the referees hate giving safeties. Right? I mean, they'll review it. If you have any forward motion or the ball, if your eyes are looking downfield, they'll give you the forward momentum. But that was a safety for sure.
That looked like a game that the Giants just felt like they had to show up and win. And all of a sudden it's a game. The crowd was pissed off, and it was just a textbook stupid upset win. Textbook. Yep. Anyway.
All right, and last early afternoon game, Indy at Cincy. Haven't these two teams played like 3 weeks in a row?
I like Dalton. I'm in on Dalton.
Yeah.
That guy's solid. Even if they're down yesterday by 4, and he's got to go length of the field, and I actually felt like he was going to do it.
I'll tell you what, all these rookies are good. They are. Cam Newton, obviously. I even know Blaine Gabbert's not bad. I mean, they set him up with...
He's not bad.
They set him up with garbage. Like Jay Hill, Mike Thomas is okay, but Deji can't. You got to see his receivers. It's
Yeah, he's not bad. He seems like fairly confident too.
Yeah, they don't screw up that much. And even Curtis Painter's coming alive.
I'm gonna say Bengals by 4.5.
All right, I said 4, and it's 7. I don't know how that's so high.
Does seem like the Colts can throw the ball a little bit now.
When are the Colts going to win if they don't steal one of these games? They have to.
I don't think it's going to be this one.
Oh, boy. Bengals given 7. That's rough.
So what's the best early game there? Giants-Bills? Redskins-Eagles?
Well, Redskins-Eagles, I guess. San Fran, Detroit. There's a few that are okay, but none that I'm crazy about. But we do have a couple of teas. Pittsburgh and Green Bay. Look for on a 3-team teaser, I think, so far. Dallas at New England. Late afternoon.
I have the same line as Jets last week. Pats by 9.
Wow. Well, I think that opened at 7.5, and that's where I put it. But it's Jets Pats that I'm talking about, and it's 7. So I get it. This is what I mean about them favoring these bye teams a little bit. That should be a little higher.
Well, I favor Tom Brady and the Pats offense over Dallas coming off a bye week.
Well, all right. But let me tell you, he's going to be running around a little bit.
He might be.
I think so.
Oh, it sounds like you're a little confident for this game.
I think we could cover. I think we can actually cover this.
Well, I will tell you that Tony Romo will have a lot of time to throw.
Yeah.
He will be very comfortable, and you will not see Tony Romo happy feet next Sunday because the Pats will not pressure him.
This will be a shootout. I'm not looking forward to it.
That was the Jets' that was their big mistake yesterday, is they tried to do the same game plan that they did last time where, control the ball, keep Brady off the field. They should have just had Sanchez flinging it that whole game. Yeah. We wouldn't have been able to cover those guys.
Especially if, even if you don't lose, give him some confidence. He just came off that Ravens game. This is the one where he could let loose a little bit.
Totally. You go into that game and you go, hey, Sanchez, you're going to throw 55 times in this game. We're going to get you going. That should have been a shootout. And instead they were like, these 8-minute drives. It's like, I don't think it puts Sanchez in a better place.
It doesn't seem to work for them. No, that's because he's coaching like a defensive coach still, Rob Ryan, I think.
Right.
All right, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go and beat them in the trenches. That doesn't work. Houston at Baltimore.
Houston at Baltimore. Hold on, I'm just looking up. They threw it 26 times and ran it 25 times.
This is the Jets?
Yeah. That would not have been my balance for that game, considering the Patriots have no pass rush at all. Sanchez had 2 touchdowns, 16 for 26. A 105.6 QB rating. They should have just aired it out with him. I don't get it. Anyway, what was this game?
I mean, they air it out when it's too late, and then it just is too late. What are you going to do? Houston at Baltimore.
Oof, the Mario Williams thing was a killer, huh? Now they don't have Mario Williams and Andre Johnson. And I don't think Arian Foster got hurt again.
Yeah, dinged up. Baltimore's coming off a bye. I don't want to help you here. Go ahead. What do you say?
Well, I would have said 3.5, but I think Andre Johnson's worth a point, so I have Ravens by 4.5.
Wow, okay. I get that one. I said 5. It's 7.
Whoa!
They're giving these bye week teams a big break in the spread here. So now it is 6-5. I'm up.
If I was a Texan fan, I would be 98.7% out on Matt Schaub.
Out on him?
I wouldn't be 100% yet, but yesterday was a game that it just seems like over and over again he doesn't come through. Like he is worse than Romo in terms of not coming through and takes 1/100th of the heat.
Yeah. Well, it's nice when you're in a division that you can win with 9 victories and in a small market.
I mean, come on, you're home. You're down 5. You have the ball. You're going against the Raiders. It's not exactly the 85 Bears. That's a game you should win. I don't care if you don't have Andre Johnson.
Maybe he just wanted to see Hugh Jackson cry on the sideline.
I know I did.
Speaking of, that's the next game. Cleveland at Oakland.
Houston had 21 first downs in that game. Oakland had 11. You can't lose that.
Wow.
Cleveland at Oakland. Cleveland coming off a bye, but I have the Raiders by 6.
All right, I had 6.5, and it's 7. So it's getting good.
You beat me this week.
Let me ask you this. What's that? Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Colt McCoy, are we close to maybe saying he's not a starter?
Yeah, I hate watching him because it's so frustrating because you see him do great things and so poised back there, but for some reason they have 13 points going into the fourth quarter. He could. They might.
See, unfortunately, they're 2-2. Some of these teams really have to start thinking about luck. I like if I'm the Colts now and I'm 0-5. This is where you tell Dwight Freeney to take the year off because of some knee injury he doesn't know he has. Like you got to start rigging this now. Wait, what do you care if you go 1-15?
Cleveland's 2-2. I guess
Cleveland's somehow 2-2. Yeah, I don't remember either of the wins, but they're 2-2. You
shocked me with that. They are.
Yeah, I thought they were 1-4, and I was going to say that they should start going into tank mode here, but. The AFC North in general, the 3-1, 3-2, 3-2, 2-2, not bad.
Yeah, they're all right. Let's talk about the Raiders real quick with Al Davis. I mean, this has to be the greatest example of fake praise ever, right?
Well, it's the Michael Jackson corollary of when somebody dies, you throw out the last however many years where, it was a little shaky. And you just concentrate on the good stuff, which I think is what you should do when people.
Well, die, that's fine, but then we should have 2 obituaries for him. We should acknowledge when that point comes and say, and really just literally come out and have an obituary and say, this is a great guy. I don't care what happens the rest of the way. We're going to have it like this. But I mean, honestly, guys, we set a record for hearing. Say what you will about Al Davis to start a sentence today or this week.
Yeah. There was a lot of that and a lot of, Al Davis was Al Davis.
Yeah, right.
A lot of that. Almost like when we talk about Corolla. Hey, Corolla's Corolla.
Yeah.
He's going to say some stuff. But
3 months ago they're saying he's he's stubborn, pig-headed, micromanaging, taskmaster, thinks he's bigger than the game. And now the same people saying, you got to hand it to him. He stuck to his convictions, believed in what he believed in, and made football what it is today. Like what?
That's just a death thing. But I do think the one thing I didn't totally understand was how the Raiders winning in Al's memory and all that, because there didn't seem to be a lot of evidence that he was that tight with like the players the last 10 years. It almost seemed like. I'd certainly never read anything that suggested he was, in the locker room and on the field all the time. Like, I can't imagine that he had that much of an impact on these guys that these guys were like, we got to win this for Al. I think they just wanted to win because they had lost the week before and they needed the game. But, whatever. It's a narrative.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to when I die, when I'm watching the Cowboys and they just put a very final dagger in me and I'm gone, I don't want you. I need to be remembered what I was, a guy who gave terrible advice on football. I don't want you to point to week 2 or whatever when I was 13-3.
Okay.
That's what I was.
I'll talk about in 2004 when we made like 10 straight weeks of 3-team teasers and won them all, and that'll be mine.
Yeah.
And then Sal, in his prime, Sal with the 3-team teasers, there's nobody better.
Right. I was in my prime for 2 weeks out of 25 years of gambling.
Yeah.
All right. New Orleans at Tampa Bay.
Man, I don't know what to make of this one.
Well, you better make it good because I picked it exactly. I might change it. Let me see. Nope, I got it.
I have Saints by 4.5.
Ah, you get it too.
All right.
Right on. All right, so there's 2 games left, the Sunday night and the Monday night game.
You're beating me by 2.
You have 6, and I have 8. You need them both, and I was off on both of these, so you could tie. Minnesota.
Quick on that
Chicago.
one, though. I don't think the Bucs are good enough offensively to hang in that game. As much as I would love to take them as a home underdog coming off a terrible loss, it's really tough for them to move the ball. It just really is. And now if Blunt's hurt, I don't think it's just hard for them to get.
Is he definitely hurt, or did they take him out because they were getting killed? I know he's hurt, but I wonder if he'll be playing.
Said he was hurt. I mean, here's their point. They've scored 87 points this year and given up 125.
Yeah.
What's 5 into 87? So they're averaging 17 points a game, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really tough for them to score. The Saints have 157 points.
And I'll say this. I think Breeze, maybe I'm late to the party here. I think he's turned the corner. Here's a 3rd and 7. He's my 3rd and 7 quarterback. I really do. I think Breeze and Brady, even more than Rodgers, I think. 3rd and 7. I'm most scared facing them.
Yeah, it doesn't even seem like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 doesn't even seem to be a problem for either guys. The Pats with Hernandez back, the Jets scored. Pats there was like 7 minutes left, and there just was no way the Pats weren't running off clock there. It's so easy for them to move down the field. The problem is when the other team has a chance to, the defense is just not good. It's
so easy that Hernandez tried to make it hard by deflecting a easy touchdown pass into the Jets. You have nothing to worry about. All right, Minnesota, Chicago, Sunday night. Was it always like this where teams would play back-to-back night games? Like it seems like one play Sunday night, then they play the following Monday night.
I'm going to hit this exact. Bears by 3.5.
Yeah, you got it. You did. 3.5. I said 6.5.
Whoa!
So you got it. Well, the Vikings are back, I guess. 1-4.
No, but I think the Vikings are the most likely team if you're going to pick a 1-4 team to maybe make a run here. I would pick them over Philly.
They are better than 1-4. I think they had 28 or 24 points yesterday, and McNabb had 2 completions. I mean, some of these games Peterson can just take over.
Yeah. And Philly doesn't, even though Vic can, quote-unquote, take over, he still makes too many mistakes.
All right, so Monday night, you could tie it here, or I can win. Miami at the New York Jets.
Yeah, I'm going to hit this one exact, too. It's Jets by 8.
All right. I said 7, and according to the source we use, it is. Let's see if it's changed. It is 7.5.
Oh, that was my original guess. Oh.
We both get it, and I win to even things up.
That line should be a little higher.
But this is it. This is what I'm talking about. All the bye teams get a little bit of a break in Vegas' eyes.
I don't think the bye week is changing the fact that Matt Moore is the quarterback of Miami.
How did Miami and the St. Louis Rams use their bye week?
If I own Miami, here's what I do. I fire Tony Sparano like a day before this game, and I name Mike Nolan my head coach because he's terrible. You'd be like, Mike Nolan, he's getting experience as a head coach.
That's and then bad.
You go for 1-15 or 0-16. You got to go for it.
What if you have a teaser? If a 2-team teaser, you like the Jets, and you like the Ravens or the Patriots?
I don't really like the Jets. I don't know if I'd put them in a teaser.
You thought it would be higher, though.
I know, but I wouldn't trust them in a teaser. Let's pick our upset pick.
All right. Well, do we have the Raiders last week, or do we have the Panthers? Both of them covered.
I took the Raiders last week as my upset. I don't know. I forget who you took, but
I might have taken the Panthers.
So you like the Cowboys a little as your upset pick here?
Stop it! I can't do it.
You like the Texans?
No, I don't like the way they're playing either with the injuries and everything.
You like the Colts? You thought that Colts line was too high?
I did think I was too high. I'm going Panthers again. I'm with you. I'm with you.
I'm riding the Cam.
All right. Why on the neutral field? I think they're probably better.
Name me one thing the Falcons have shown this year. Why should I think the Falcons are good?
No. Did they beat them in Atlanta last year, or was it close? Something weird happened that game last year. Panthers are winning that game.
Panthers are exciting. How many points are they? They have 116 points in 5 games. That's pretty solid.
And I apologize for earlier saying a team from the NFC South is not going to grab the wild card. Carolina Panthers.
Boy, that would be something. I'll be rooting for them. I will say that, let me look at this. I think the Dolphins are a possible upset.
Wow.
Weird stuff happens in those games. I don't think the Jets are good. We just watched the Jets get waxed in 3 straight road games, basically.
Well, the Jets, if they can't tee off on Matt Moore, like you said, I don't care how many weeks they have off. Maybe
if I had to bet my life, if I'm betting my life, I think the Panthers are the best upset. We define the upset pick as you're getting 4.5 points or more.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Panthers are the best pick, and you got to look at the 49ers getting 4.5 over the Lions as at least like a fair, the 49ers might be better than the Lions.
The 49ers are good. I almost don't like taking good teams as an upset. It's more exciting when you. The Panthers are not good, but they're fun. All right.
Cousin Sal, we are going to talk to you next week on Monday. Good luck.
All right, Jimmy Kimmel Live. Let me just say, Paul Abdul tonight, later in the week, Don Rickles, the beautiful John Stamos, beautiful Rob Lowe, the beautiful John Goodman. And my Grantland blog Thursday, as a prop, I have the Bears-Lions longest touchdown over 46.5 yards tonight.
And you have your gambling blog every Thursday on Grantland.com.
That's it. That's the one.
All right, talk to you next week.
How about it?
Good job by you.
Good job by you, Billy.
All right, and now we're going to call Grantland.com's lead football writer and a guy who has been living in Las Vegas for the last 2 months and is somehow still alive, Bill Barnwell. He's on the line right now. Bill Barnwell, what is happening?
I had a pretty rough week yesterday betting on the NFL. I lost, actually. I was down a little bit because the Jaguars gave up a touchdown on that last lateral play, and they did not cover a couple of teasers. So it was very frustrating yesterday at the end of the day.
That lateral play, the Jaguars are down 3. They have really no chance to win the game. They're on their own 20. There's 8 seconds left. They run the flea flicker or the hook and lateral. There's a couple laterals. There's another. All of a sudden, the Bengals are running it in for a touchdown, and it doesn't seem like a real touchdown. And then all of a sudden, there it was, 30-20 final. That was tough.
It was tragic. I mean, it's one thing. I bet on the Bucs yesterday to cover a couple of teasers, and they got destroyed. I mean, that's fine. I can deal with that. But all week I thought, okay, the Bengals are probably the better team here. They're probably going to cover. They were 1.5-point dogs most of the week, and then at the end of the week they finally got a lot of money coming in on them, and the line flips that the Jaguars are 1.5-point dogs at home. And I thought, okay, this is great. I'm going to get, I'm going to have both teams in teasers. There's no way either of these teams are going to be able to win by more than a touchdown. And all game it was like that. It was a 3-point game, a tie game, a 4-point game, and on the very last play, that happened. That was a pretty rough beat.
Let me give you some advice, because I'm really the Mr. Miyagi to I probably have 15 to 20 more years of gambling experience than you.
Absolutely.
Here's one of the few rules that I stick by, and it's been pretty wise. And by the way, I'm not saying that I've been making enough money to buy a second house with all my gambling winnings. But here's good advice: never put a bad team in a tease. I think that's one of the original tenets of gambling. Because you can't trust a bad team. If you're in a tease, you want it to be teams that you feel at least reasonably confident you know how they're going to play from week to week. And I think the Jaguars stink.
Oh, they do. They're bad.
Yeah. So
I'm really excited. I actually already have money on them for next week. The Hilton's actually been publishing the lines. The Las Vegas Hilton Sportsbook has been publishing the lines for the following week's games actually a couple days early. So the Steelers are actually, I don't want to spoil your podcast with Sal, but the Steelers are playing the Jaguars at home next week. So you can probably figure out that's going to be a very tasty opportunity. I think it's going to be like the Seahawks game where they get blown out and shut out altogether. So I'm very excited about betting against the Jaguars next week.
We did all the lines already. So, yeah, that Steelers line I think was something like 13 or something. But, yeah, if you look at – and this is something I made the mistake of with the Giants-Seahawks yesterday. If you have these blowouts at home, usually the team has to have a defense that's at least good because they get the lead and then their defense just finishes it off. The Giants, their secondary just stinks. And
they really do. I mean, it's a thing where I really do like Corey Webster. I think Webster is a really talented cornerback, and their safeties are pretty good. But in the NFL nowadays, you can't hide a bad cornerback. If you have a guy who's seriously subpar, the way that Aaron Ross is, teams just are too good at finding him now. Maybe 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, a team can get away with it. But it's just not the case anymore. I mean, teams are really good at isolating guys, that creating bad matchups, and you saw what the Seahawks did. I mean, Baldwin had a big game, and a lot of that was against the slot guys and against Ross. And as a Giants fan, I mean, the pass rush is always going to be great. That helps a lot. Kind of hides a bad secondary, but each of the past few years, the pass rush has disappeared in the second half. And so I wonder if the pass rush disappears, what's going to be left?
And I think the Patriots are another team that it's going to be tough for them to blow teams out because it's just too easy to score on them. And Sal and I talked about this earlier about I thought the Jets made a mistake yesterday. I would have just thrown the whole game. And they tried to have that run-pass balance and try to do their recipe that worked last year in the playoff game. But I think, and this is why the Cowboys are so intriguing this week, just throw it. Just chuck it against the Pats. They have no pass rush and a pretty weak secondary. And you should be able to move the ball, however, pretty much at will. Do you like the Cowboys at all this week?
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. We were talking about it before the game, and I thought the Jets would be smarter than that. I thought they wouldn't, I thought they might go to the media and say, we're going to run the ball 30 times, blah, 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 and then come out and actually throw it. But it just seemed like that 15-yard deep in was there all game. That, Sanchez could have thrown that ball every single play, and if he put it there on time, it was going to be open. And for some reason, they just decided they were going to run Sean Green 20 times. And I really thought that they actually got a bad break because the Patriots didn't score at the end of the first half. And if they had scored, I think that would have forced them to throw the ball for the entire second half, especially after the Patriots scored on the ensuing drive. And that would have been a lot better for them, I think, than what they did on offense. I thought they could have got back into the game that way because they really just I just don't see how you don't throw against the Patriots 40, 50 times if you can. And the Cowboys, I mean, Romo's going to be healthier. Obviously, I'm a bigger fan of Romo than I think anyone on the planet right now after I wrote about him last week. Miles Austin is going to be back. Des Bryant's going to be healthier. Jason Witten's going to be healthier. I mean, the offensive line there is the real weak point, but if Romo gets protection, he's going to make plays. And certainly, I think the over there is such a lock. I think it's 52.5. It just seems like both these teams might get to 40. I mean, I don't think either of them can stop the pass. So I think the Cowboys will be smarter. I think Jason Garrett's a little better about using Romo and going pass happy. So I really do think you're going to see maybe 40 pass attempts from Romo next week.
Philly, team that has perennially confounded the Football Outsiders crew because statistically they always look so much better than they actually are. This might be the all-time season that is the example of that. When you look at the stats versus what's actually happening, like, are there just some teams that just are going to confound stats completely and that's it?
I think so. And I think part of the reason why is that there's some places where you kind of see a really bad outlier and you say, okay, this is going to bounce back. A good example for the Eagles, which has been pretty much the case for the past, 6-7 years, I would say, is their ability to run the ball in the red zone. You always think, okay, they're going to get better at this. They're going to figure out that they should run sneaks more. They should not try, run pass option plays from the 1 yard line. You think they would learn this stuff after 6 or 7 years, but they're still running the same sort of gimmicky stuff, and they don't have a fullback who can really block well inside the red zone. They'll try Owen Schmidt. They'll go grab a defensive lineman or something. It never works, and just. They don't roll Vic out inside the 5 yard line for some reason. They did it once yesterday and it worked. They're whether it's Morty Morningweg, whether it's Andy Reid, whether it's their personnel, they can't run the ball in the red zone, and they cost them points.
Yeah.
And it's not the only reason they're losing. Their tackling has been abysmal.
Really
their defensive schemes have been. It's just insane. I mean, Nnamdi Asomugha was a fantastic tackler in Oakland. He comes to Philadelphia and he can't make tackles anymore. I mean, if you watched that game yesterday, it was ridiculous because I was actually, counting, and it was almost always the third guy who was in on a play who was going to make the tackle because the first two guys were going to miss. And we're not talking about Barry Sanders here. I mean, I love Fred Jackson. I think he's a super talented player, but he's not exactly, Barry Sanders or Adrian Peterson as far as making guys miss. So it really is frustrating, and I think it's the numbers are going to be a little better on them because they're so efficient when they pass the ball and don't turn it over. The defense is always going to be able to hopefully get some pass pressure. They didn't get much yesterday without Trent Cole, which is kind of scary. But they've played a tough schedule, but they're playing really bad football. I mean, it's not like, as much as I think they're a better team than the 49ers and the Bills, they deserve to lose both those games. I mean, they made their own mistakes. So I can't really, I can't really get too upset about it at this point. You can say, the numbers expect them to be better, and I expect them to be better, and that's true, but they're not playing like a great football team right now. They're not getting, 65-yard field goals against them, or 63-yard field goals against them the way they got Matt Bryan to kick against them to win a couple of years ago. They're making their own destiny. They're not playing like a good football team right now.
How many weeks do you think it takes? Because I love the Football Outsiders DVOA rankings, but I just feel like I can't really take them seriously until about week 8 because I just don't think there's enough of a sample size early on. Like, for instance, through week 4, here are the ratings. You had San Fran at 11 and Tampa at 13. You had Philly at 24 and Buffalo at 1 after 4 weeks. So if you just did it purely from the DVOA ranking, like, you would take Buffalo there. But now here's the flip side. You had Tennessee at 2 and Pittsburgh at 19. And Pittsburgh destroyed Tennessee. How many weeks do you think we need? Would you say 7, 8 before we have enough numbers to really crunch these and figure out what's going to happen?
I agree. Whether it's DVOA or any stat, really. I do want to see 7, 8 games before I really have a lot of confidence in, okay, this is meaningful information for me as far as, sort of figuring out, okay, whatever I had on this team in the preseason, if the numbers don't match it after 7 or 8 weeks, once you start adjusting for opponents and you kind of get a decent sample size for the offense and the defense and injuries have begun to set in, then it's like, okay, if the Titans defense, for example, I didn't think they'd be any good before the season. Obviously you did. You deserve some credit for that. And they've been great this year until last week when they played pretty poorly against the Steelers, but they've been a really good defense. And so for me, it's after 4 weeks, I'm questioning myself, but I'm not at the point where I'm saying, okay, I believe in the Titans defense 100% and I was totally wrong and I don't know what I'm talking about. If they're still, that good in 8 weeks where they're top 5 in DVOA or points allowed or whatever, then I'll say, okay, you know what? I really got to start questioning myself and I really got to figure out, okay, what's happening with this Titans defense that I wasn't recognizing before the season. Right now it could be a mix of a weak schedule, like the Bills had a pretty weak schedule before the Eagles game. I mean, they obviously played the Eagles and the Patriots, but otherwise it's been really weak. It could be injuries, it could be teams staying healthy. Like the Redskins, for example, have had a pretty weak schedule, and they've been a very healthy team so far this year. All stuff like that comes into play, and it's just a matter of, applying common sense to the numbers as well. And certainly, I don't think anyone out there, whether it's Football Outsiders or anyone who works with numbers in football, will say you need to blindly stick with the numbers after 4 weeks or even 8 weeks. You have to take the numbers and kind of apply some common sense to them as well.
But at the same time, and I really wish I had looked last week, Philly was always in the top 5 no matter what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty interesting that heading into that Buffalo game, they were 24th. I don't ever remember seeing them in the bottom half. And now, obviously, after last week's game, they're going to be right around there or even lower. Could we possibly write this team off after 5 weeks?
I don't know. Just when I go to the sportsbook today and I see that the Super Bowl odds are up and the Eagles are at like 50-1 or 60-1, it's going to be so hard not to bet on them just because, they have to get better. Like, they can't be this bad all year. I mean, even though I think Michael Vick is making some poor decisions, obviously every tip pass is not going to end up as an interception as opposed to as an incomplete pass. I think he's going to have a couple of breaks go his way over the next few weeks. Jason Peters and Trent Cole being healthy will help them a lot. And I think that if they don't fire Castillo at defensive coordinator, they're going to have to change their scheme and be a little sort of less fluid. I think they really want to try and turn Nnamdi Asomugha into like the Charles Woodson for them. And he might not be that player. You may just need to stick Asomugha on one side and Samuel on the other side and say, okay, we're just going to try and lock you up in coverage and beat you with our pass rush. Because just when I was watching that game, just stuff didn't make sense. Like you would see the Eagles on 3rd and 6 playing their cornerbacks 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. And it's like, if you're playing the Bills, they're not going to go deep. Ryan Fitzpatrick only threw deep, I think, 2 times yesterday. And then he's going to throw all short stuff, so why don't you jam them at the line of scrimmage? Why don't you have guys up at the line expecting them to go 6-7 yards and try and get a pass rush on Fitzpatrick? I just couldn't understand it.
Well, I'm looking at the Super Bowl odds right now, which are on sportsbook.com. And I know the Vegas ones are a little different, a little more up to date. They depend on who's betting on what and whether a big bet came in, whatever. The Bills are down to 25-1, which is pretty interesting. The one, though, if I'm looking at long shots, the one that I think you have to at least think about a little bit, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Niners at 30-1. I think anything over 30-1, if you think a team could potentially get a 2 seed, you have to at least think about 30-1. The Niners, with the way that schedule's set up, with how good their defense has been, and Harbaugh just, let's just say it, he's just a good coach. Like, it's not unrealistic that team could get to 12-4 and get a bye in round 1. Do you like that at 30-1?
I think your logic's very sound. I can't see them winning 3 playoff games with Alex Smith at quarterback.
I can't either.
But at 30-1, it's decent odds. You'll have a good chance to hedge, I think. If you get there with the 2 seeds at 30-1, I think you'll have the opportunity to make some money if you can hedge against them. But I mean, I really underestimated, I think, how good the defense was going to be.
Me too.
They lost to Breo Franklin, and they've really been really good against the pass, and they can run the ball. I mean, they really destroyed the Bucs yesterday with the ground game. I was really impressed with that.
Yeah. The other one, the Jets have dropped to 30-1, and in my opinion, that should be even worse. Eagles are 40-1. I'm sorry, the Raiders and the Eagles are 40-1. I got to say that Eagles line does seem a little high, because you could argue that they could easily be 4-1, and they shot themselves in the foot, and just removing all logic and just saying, well, maybe they had some bad luck, and they certainly have the talent. And if you're just looking at, do you want to ride a team that has the talent versus what's actually happened? That's pretty intriguing. It's weird, though. There's been a lot of action. Like the Ravens are down to 9-1. That seems a little low. The Lions are down to 8-1. The Packers are at 3-1. I would say that's fair, right? They should be the favorites.
I think they should be the favorites, but I can't imagine that the Packers are going to win 33% of the Super Bowls that get played if we play the Super Bowl a million times, or we, play the season out a million times. I just don't see that.
It's not a good bet, right?
Not a good bet, but they have to be the favorites. I mean, with the Eagles, it's tricky. I mean, if you think about the Packers last year, right around this time, they were losing to the Dolphins and the Redskins, and they just kind of everything sort of coalesced for them after that, and they went on a big run. And whether it's the Eagles, whether it's a different team, I don't think it's clear that. Even if the Packers are the favorite, that they should be such a high favorite. I think that we still have a lot of football to go, and so one or two of the teams who look down and out right now are going to take a leap forward. I think it'll be the Eagles, but I thought it would be the Eagles in Week 1, and certainly after that Rams game, they have not looked like a great football team by any means.
First NFL coach fired. Currently no Lions available for this event. Sorry,
that's unfortunate. Did they take it off the book? Like, did they get news about Sperano, or?
Well, I think they wait until Tuesday. But it does. If I'm Miami, I don't fire Sperano. I still stick by my Jack Del Rio pick. I think he's the first one. I think it goes like week 8, week 9. It's not like they really need Andrew Luck anyway, since they were all in on Gabbert. So tell us, you've been in Vegas for 2 months now. Has it made you better or worse at following football?
Good question. I'd like to think it's made me better, although I think I'm a lot more conscious about the handicapping side of it now than I am about just the pure football side of it. Like I find myself thinking about games and what happens in games in terms of gambling purposes. Like I'm like, the Patriots yesterday, had that interception at the end of the first half where it was just a ridiculous pick, should never have happened. And I thought, okay, well, there's going to be a lot of value on them in the second half, as opposed to thinking, they're playing better than they actually deserve.
Right.
And the Seahawks, for example, I was upset because I was really excited to bet against the Giants over the next few weeks when they were, have been playing pretty poorly and still have a pretty decent record. And I thought, okay, they're going to, kind of get this one against the Seahawks at the last second. They're going to eke out a victory where they got really outplayed, and it's going to be great again to bet against them over the next 5 weeks. And as they threw that pick six right at the end, it was just so frustrating because I thought, the Giants are going to be accurately valued now because they lost to the Seahawks at home. I never would have thought that a year ago or 2 years ago. So definitely, I find myself thinking in gambling terms, which can't be healthy.
No, I think it's very healthy.
Like it.
I think it's totally healthy. I don't know what you're talking about. On Sunday nights, how hard is it to resist the urge to just go down to a casino and wait for the next week's lines to get posted?
Oh, I mean, it's not hard to resist just because I do it. I mean, once the Hilton lines are up, I mean, I'm straight there. It just makes sense. I really got a lot of value this week by getting the Vikings at 1.5. And then Sunday morning, I unfortunately decided to hedge and try and get a middle by taking some Cardinals at 3.5, and obviously it didn't fly my way. Yeah, but it's 2-point middle over the 3 for a field goal. It just seemed like
Barnwell. Yeah, but you knew the Cards were a bad pick this week.
Oh, they were terrible. But the Vikings aren't good either. So I just figured, okay, maybe I could see a 3-point game happening, where the Vikings are up 10, and then Larry Fitzgerald, caught a bomb from Kevin Cobb with a minute left, and they scored, at the last second. It made it a 3-point game. It just seemed like I could make a case for it in my head. But yeah, the Cardinals are terrible. I was running the numbers before the game, and I was actually on the Spreadopedia website, which is just a super valuable database that has all these links to past points spreads from the past 20 years. And I wanted to look and say, okay, when an NFC West team goes on the road at 1 p.m. to play a team on the East Coast or in the Central Time Zone, basically, how often do they cover, and how often do they even win if the team isn't favored by 3 points? And it was like 2-21 or something ridiculous like that against the spread, where it was just I have to go request several loans to put more money on the Vikings this week, and I didn't think it'd be that bad of a blowout. But yeah, the Kevin Cobb situation does not look good in Arizona so far.
No, that might have been the single worst move of the offseason in terms of what they gave up and what they were expecting versus how it's playing out. I mean, you could maybe say Asamoah, but I wouldn't blame him for what's happening with the Eagles. I think Kevin Cobb, that's the one good thing Andy Reid seems like he did this year was he sold pretty high on Cobb. And maybe he
sold high on McNabb and Cobb. I mean, you look at what they got. They got 2 second-round picks. They got Rogers Cromartie. I mean, and both those teams are not happy with their quarterbacks. I don't understand why teams go out of their way to lock up quarterbacks before they have to. They did it with Cobb.
Vic's a good example. Why do the Vic contract?
Example. Yeah, I mean, if the Eagles went out and signed Vic today, they would have saved $20 million versus the Vic they signed before the season even started. It happened with Cobb. It happened with Matt Castle. When you have a quarterback, you don't have to lock him up to a long-term deal. Why not wait and see how he plays before, if you can get him at a lower value, why not take advantage of that opportunity? With the Cardinals, they might not even sign Cobb now if they had the opportunity to do that deal again. So, yeah, it's kind of scary.
Where are you watching these games on Sunday? You going to a sports book?
It depends. I have a couple sharps who have been having me over to watch games. I've been to a couple sports book. I went to the Hilton a couple weeks ago. I think I've been doing a column on Grantland every Tuesday about how the line moves and kind of going about the numbers of gambling and sort of what stuff is meaningful and what stuff isn't meaningful. And I think I'm going to go around and start doing sportsbook reviews or kind of, going to a sportsbook for a week and seeing what it's like and what the situation is like, what the mood is like, and, what they offer during service and whatnot. Kind of the basic stuff for thinking, okay, if you're going to Vegas for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks and you want to go to a sportsbook, you want to watch the NFL there, kind of seeing what it's like and kind of giving sort of a better know sportsbook feature. So I think I'm going to start doing that because I hear that a lot from people who want to know, what book should I go to? if I want to do this, on a Saturday or Sunday. So I think that's going to be something.
Well, it depends what you want.
Doing.
Like, I always like the Mandalay setup because you could play poker as you're watching the games if you get the right kind of table. I like Caesars. I think the Hilton is really cool. A lot of them I'm not crazy about, but
it's tricky, and some of them get really crowded. Like the Hilton, is super packed on a Sunday. They have a separate overflow theater now for NFL Sundays. But like a book like the Tropicana, for example, just opened a brand new sports book and no one knows about it. And it's not, it's Tropicana. It's brand new. It's reasonably comfortable, and you would never think, I'm going to go to the Tropicana to watch football, because the Tropicana is a pretty old casino and it doesn't stand out as anything that's special. But you think about things like that, and people sort of don't have an idea of it. So I'm definitely going to do more stuff like that going forward, and for better or worse, writing about my experience at the sports book.
Good. Do you? Is there a sports book that you feel like has kind of wonky lines? You get some value that maybe you couldn't get at other casinos?
Wonky might be the wrong word when I have to go to those sports books. I may get yelled at.
You know what I mean? Like maybe they'll move them a half point maybe to get a little more value, maybe get some more money and stuff like that, try to get more people betting.
Yeah, I think the best sort of example of that is going to the Hilton on Sunday and betting the next week's lines before, sort of before they get hit by the public or get hit by the really sharp people. I mean, they will release the next week's lines, like I said, a couple days before the games even happen. So, on Thursday, I think I was there, and I bet the Eagles, this is going to work out great for me, as a pick 'em at Washington. And I thought, it's going to be such a great line because they're going to beat the Bills, and then they're going to be 2 or 3 point favorites against Washington, and I might get a 3-point middle. Obviously, it didn't work out that way. But definitely, I think if you can kind of anticipate a week ahead and say, okay, what do I think is going to happen this week, and then how does that affect the lines for next week, you can be several points ahead of everyone else at the Hilton. And I don't think it's necessarily wonky lines, but just there's more opportunity there. Once the lines come out on Tuesday, at the Wynn or at MGM or at the local casinos, they're going to be pretty similar during the week. You may find a half point or even a point difference, especially on Sunday morning, going from casino to casino. But I do like the Hilton because their lines are out so early that there's no one else to compare them to, so you can kind of hit them and get some value there. So I would say the Hilton. What
would you say about the amount of people in Vegas? Like, does it settle down or pick up in September and October?
Definitely on Sundays. I mean, it sort of depends on what's happening. Like, when the Mayweather fight happened, it was really packed.
Really?
I was at I was at a closed circuit, and it was like,
we should have made you write about that, Barnwell.
I was going to, but a certain Grantland editor beat me to the punch.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was great. It was such a fun experience because I was watching it with like 950 Ortiz fans.
Wow.
In the Mirage at the closed circuit, and I decided to secretly, quietly bet on Mayweather because his odds went way down before the fight. I think he was like minus 600 on Friday and then minus 500 on Saturday.
That's ridiculous.
People were just coming in and betting Ortiz, pounding that Ortiz line, and of course, fight happens, everyone goes nuts. It was actually pretty calm, but it was just so ridiculous that everyone was screaming and shouting, cursing out Mayweather. Larry Merchant comes on and freaks out, and people start chanting for Merchant to, knock out Mayweather. And then I'm just quietly cashing out my ticket and trying to sneak out the back door. And they were joking about how they said, maybe 1,000 people were there on that closed circuit, and they had 10 total bets on Mayweather. So they were very
unbelievable.
happy.
Well, that's like a dream scenario. Plus, there was no way Mayweather was losing that fight. So
that's the
kind
thing.
of the dream
there
scenario.
was no scenario where Mayweather was losing that fight. So I felt pretty confident, even at 500, for to put a few dollars on him.
All right. Well, we have to go, but I'm going to call you next week and make you tell more Vegas stories because I just love hearing them. And I'm going to come down as soon as this lockout ends. You can guarantee that I will be there within 48 hours with money to make some NBA future bets.
Cool. So I'll see you in 2013.
Yeah, I will see you in February of 2012. Bill Barnwell, we will check you out on Greatland.com. Your football column went up today. Your Vegas column goes up tomorrow. And then hopefully have something later in the week. As always, a pleasure. Stay safe.
I'll do my best. Thanks, Bill.
All right.
So I get to sign off. Whoa.
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at PodCenter at ESPNRadio.com.
Peace out.